Greetings! Let's talk about what I watched. Now, be advised, we're not talking about the best animations of 2015. I think other people got that covered. These are some that I think are worth looking at for one reason or another. Something you should know about my tastes. I tend to enjoy animations, even if they only have one redeeming factor. As long as they're not boring. That's the only real sin an animation can do for me. Good, bad, ugly, whatever, I tend to watch them all. So let's take a look at what I've got here. Shi Yo Ji Za Da Shi Jung Li. Monkey King, Hero is back. Released in China and voice acted in Mandarin, this comes from the animation studio Octavor. Yeah, that's an up-and-coming CG studio with a lot of good films under their belt, mostly helping out DreamWorks with films like Kung Fu Panda and the TV series of How to Train a Dragon. I like their work. Their character animation's strong. Really good at anticipation and impact whenever their characters perform actions, and especially in fighting animations and action stories. I would say this is their specialization at this point. Monkey King is effectively a reimagining of the tale Journey to the West. We begin the story by following a young orphan boy as he tries to rescue a toddler from a gang of children-stealing demons, and they happenstance their way upon the tomb of Sun Wukong, or aka Monkey, and hijinks unfold with our lovable asshole that is Sun Wukong. And we get ourselves from this a nice 12A action film, with some good high and low moments emotionally and amazing action scenes throughout the whole film, with maybe a little bit more colourful language in the original voice acting version, but I don't know what it's going to be like when it's released over in the West, because it might be getting a dub job. For the bulk of the movie, in style, I'll probably describe it between Dragon Ball and Kung Fu Panda, which is balanced out pretty well. It's never too overly indulgent or anything, except for that orgasmically inducing intro scene. Oh, jeez. Visually, Monkey King looks like a slightly below budget DreamWorks film, only really showing when they use dust and other particle effects on screen, effectively looking like default stuff. What? As I said when describing the studio, this is all easily overlooked when you watch the badass action scenes that go on in this film. The character action animation is ridiculous, at times being some of the best I've ever seen in CG films. It's getting a dub over the West, I imagine, but I'd probably stick to the Mandarin voice acting, as there's some incredible line readings in there. Ugly when it wants to be, and beautiful when it needs to be. I'd say Monkey King was a solid monkey spank. Hell and back. It really was for some people. A script like this should be destroyed upon release. Hell and Back may be for adults, but it is not very mature. Hell and Back is a far cry from something you would sell your soul for. With a creative team from Shadow Machine, their animations tend to be adult-orientated, working with stuff like BoJack Horseman and Robot Chicken. This film in particular is Robot Chicken the film. It never really gets past that. Stop-motion films are not the most common of animation format nowadays, so I probably would have just pointed out Hell and Back just for that, even if it isn't the most prime example of moving model media. Hey, this poster looks like something. I don't know what it is about it, but... no, it's nothing. The animation is consistently good quality throughout the whole film, despite what people are saying about it. Even if you do get that sway, floaty thing going on that Robot Chicken was quite notable for, where some of the limbs will look like floppy noodles, and whenever the characters jump, they do it in kind of a floaty moon jump. The puppet quality is consistently better than Robot Chicken, having gone away with all those cut-out eyes and mouths from paper and moved on to actually fully integrated puppets with completely modelled faces. That being said, even if it isn't the most high tier of stop-motion films I've ever seen, it still puts itself head or heels over some of the CG stuff that came out this year, with backgrounds looking organic and having some real texture to them. You can tell some effort was put into this. I mean, look at these grungy, gross backgrounds, and you can't just tell that real effort was put into everything looking this way. So stop me if you've heard this one before. A bunch of snot-nosed teens working at a rundown grungy carnival, through happenstance, start a blood ritual, which in then turn one of their stupid friends breaks, and then they have to go on an adventure to save their plonker third friend from hell. Well, I thought it was original, B+. Anyway, with the most classiest of dialogue...
I'll punch your dick off with my mouth, bro.
As I said, classy is not what this film's most prominent feature is, but it's got this 90s cynicism to it that I really enjoyed, and it got a few chuckles out of me every now and then. Maybe not the, oh, that's clever, funny chuckle, but more from a, oh, that's really stupid kind of chuckle. I mean, it's got some stuff going on. It's got this whole jab about daily grind and mundanity eroding your quality of life, as well as this rather strange situation where hell seems like everyone's just working a 9-to-5 job. That being said, the lengths in which Hell and Back goes not to be PC, I find incredibly refreshing. I'm not going to tell you when, and I'm not going to tell you how, but at some point in this film there was devil dick. The cynicist in me would suggest that this is the crux of the reason why this film ends up getting like a 5 out of 10 from most critics. Whatever, this film's stupid but fun, fun but stupid, and you can tell that there was some real effort put into the highs and lows of it. If you're a fan of that 90s stop motion kind of ugliness that is this film, I'd say it's ideal, and pretty enjoyable all the way through. Check it out if you're not easily offended. I'll be honest, when I was attempting to make this video, I was looking for animations from 2015 that were less known or less in the limelight than everyone else, but did something well or did stuff well. And this one I think is pretty well known, but I do think it was slightly overshadowed by the other Studio Madhouse's rising superstar underdog story that is One Punch Man. So I'm going to point out Death Parade, most noticed for its popping intro. So Death Parade is the story of having people's souls judged kind of, sort of, not really. In Purgatory, people are tested to find what kind of soul they possess, so they can be sorted into those that can be reincarnated and those that should be entered into the void, never to be recirculated, I suppose. But this method is intrinsically flawed, for how do you define oneself? Is it within your past actions, your reactions, your emotions, your collective knowledge? It's all left a little bit vague, and I don't think that it's that important, but the series kind of strives to describe what these features mean to individuals. It plays out kind of like a closed room story, where characters are confined to a bar and then they're given said task in order to unfold the plot. It does take some liberties with this, having a lot of extensive flashbacks, and eventually they make their way out of the singular bar, but it does this pretty well, and it still follows the rules of a closed room story, where it's mostly about the characters' interactions, and it does this particularly well. But that's not the reason I wanted to point out Death Parade. What Death Parade does that I think is unique to it, and it alone, is it creates a sense of mood or ambiance as soon as you enter into this series. When you watch the characters walk into the bar for the first time and you see the stained glass window and this almost muted colour scheme, it gives off a somewhat religious vibe to it. And this vibe is reflected in the story without really directing towards anything in particular. It utilises certain illustrations and art styles that feel religious but remain ambiguous. And it does this with the environment itself, where it will have the environment be very ambiguous and give you small hints about the inner workings of how Purgatory goes about its business, without giving you anything concrete to stand on. And I think this, to some people, this may be annoying, but it really gives this feel of otherworldly lack of understanding, especially when you're the one coming in to experience this. So it gives you grasp to latch on to characters coming into this environment and feeling the same way. And this is my recommendation for this, because of the fact that it has this ambiance. And there's a high class of tension throughout the whole series. It gets a little bit more playful when you get back into Madhouse's stereotypical action moments, but there's always got this mood that just isn't there for other series, and I think this is one highlight feature that it does really well. Madhouse's animation props are strong here, with its extremely enthusiastic highlights with well choreographed animation and really good rotoscope, to the moments that are more toned down and mood setting. For its art style, it's anime. It's specifically Madhouse anime, and it looks as smooth and sexy as it always is. I may have found myself doing a fair bit of navel gazing towards this series. So if you want something that's emotionally mood setting and really encompasses what I think of when I say ambiance, check out a little bit of Death Parade. And don't just stop at that popping intro. Tour du Monde. Long Way North comes from the French studio Soclet Bleu Productions. Yep. Who mainly work in 2D animation and seemingly do a fantastic job at it. This will be getting released over in the West at some point, but I was lucky enough to catch it at a festival. When I first saw this film, the gamer in me thought that it looked like a beautiful point-and-click adventure game, which isn't a jab at the film. This may be one of the most beautiful, minimalistic artistic films I've ever seen. As well as having stunningly smooth animation throughout the whole film. I mean, just look at this film, it's ridiculously good looking. It looks like a painting. It looks like a moving painting. Our heroine is a royal from 1892 St. Petersburg. That's a mouthful. From a young age, she longs to join her grandfather on his adventures to the north on his ship the Deva. But after his ship goes missing, Sasha is restrained to a life of royalty. But like many of our heroines in similar situations, she refuses to accept this, and she goes out to reclaim her family's honour and look for the Davis. But all this story nonsense is meaningless, because what it really means is we get to see more locations in this gloriously good-looking, orgasmic art style. Sasha is a great main character, stubborn and determined, and I hold my judgment on any English voice acting dub that happens, because even though the French voice acting is really strong, the story is based in Russia, so I don't know. The general tone of it can be a bit dry at times, but it's more fitting to the realistic story that they're going for here. So the real reason I'm pushing this film for when it gets its actual Western release is its art style. It's literally one of the most beautiful things I've seen all year. It feels like I've walked into a minimalistic art gallery and I brought Prince of Persia with me. Highly recommended for anyone who wants some beautiful orgasmic eye candy. Next! Moonbeam City! Well, all the thick, girthy 80s retro charm of Power Drive 2000 and Kung Fury. Tip-mousing. I may be a fan of this aesthetic. Just saying. So this series is starting to gather a little bit of speed now, and it does cater to a specific crowd of retro charm enthusiasts. And it does seem to get this rep of an Archer lookalike, which ends up putting it between a rock and a hard dick. If the art style was a little bit different, it wouldn't run into this problem, but then again, its art style is perfect and it's way better than Archer's, so what are you going to do about that? So you've got this nut-bar thrill-seeking detective by the name of Dazzle running around this crime-ridden futuristic city of the 80s. Yeah, I'm up for this. It kind of felt like that moment in Double Dragon Neo at the beginning, where you walk onto the screen and you see the neon lit streets and your girlfriend's just standing there waving and the bad guy comes up and punches her in the gut before walking off. The whole series has that sort of humour and comedy to it. It's overindulgent, dumb fun, and the series loves it.
Take it! Show your friends! Who wants some?
Dazzle's a lovable ass of a detective, and his whole cast of cohorts are all enjoyable stereotypes. Listing off the other tick list that is the 80s cop genre, we've got a comedy show that's A-class. Dazzle's sometimes police partner, Chrysalis, has a really down-to-earth, defeated wit about her that really hits home the point just how absurd the show gets at times. Also, shout-outs to the Chief's dramatic window shade shading. It definitely had my number. The episode-to-episode plot is relatively meaningless, but I was just so overly hyped to see new locations in this neon-lit wonderland that I just, for lack of a better way to describe it, it's simply just cool. You also get some hilarious parody songs sprinkled throughout the season on top of a funky flavoured neon soundtrack. Last year, Moonbeam City was nominated for Amnesty's Award for Best General Audiences Animated TV Broadcast Productions, but because of Simpsons' Halloween episode, it didn't quite make the cut. Anyway, Moonbeam City is good, and the style and comedy is great. You should check it out if you have a chance, and if you're into 80s retro charm, definitely check it out. Monster Musume almost filled every weird ecchi lewd quota that I had this year, and you should definitely check that out. But sadly, it shared a year with fucking...
This is a show outclassed everything in a weird sexy this year.
From Silverlink Productions. I like these guys. They keep slice of life weird. In a good way. You don't know, man. You were there. The animation's solid. Really good body language and body interactions. And that's true of Yurikuma as well. Oh, and they do that really cute thing with the hair and they're pushing it behind the ears and... Anyway, Yurikuma. Okay, you gotta bear with me with this story, okay? We got this human and bear race war where they put up a literal wall to like keep out all the bears from human land. And this all sparked after a planet exploded and caused a meteor shower which made all the bears go apeshit and like start eating humans. And so we like follow the story of two of these bears that sneak into human land past the wall and join an all-girls high school with humans, and they like meet up with this human girl, Kuraha, I think her name is, and like the two bears like start macking on this girl. Anyway, I'm not going to go too deep into this story because it's pretty good, like if you give it a chance. But I am saying it's heated and weird, but it's well worth it. I was sold after we had this awesome panaway of the already discussed race war wall that leads into a saucy opening that gives me strange me flashbacks. But this show is cute Yuri as fuck. It was a hard year, man, but as I delved deeper into this show, it just kept catering to all of my interests. Dark, creepy story, innuendos, Yuri, little girls with big guns, innuendos, sexy boys, honeypots, innuendos, graphic imagery, congalingas, cute, evil things, and innuendos. So the environments have this weird juxtaposition thing going on, where sometimes they have these slick graphical CGI backgrounds, and sometimes they have these soft-toned watercolored backgrounds, which just makes me think that this is the weird freaky love child of Danganronpa and Cardcaptor Sakura. And that kind of goes for the whole show's theming. It's also got this strange Baccano Ghetto-y thing going on, where sometimes objects would just be floating in the background to create ambiance, which I could do without, as it's a little bit invasive, but it's okay, it looks fine. This show is absurd and it loves it. Dubs over subs, the dub is more funny,
Slurp.
but the sub is more sexy.
Jurur.
So we all know the right answer here. Also, that OST is rad as hell. So Innuendo, the anime, is well worth checking out. It's so good, and it's a master of its art. I learned so much. Senpai. Like Shared Die is a sketch animated show that utilises pop culture and satire for its comedy, and as such comes off as a little bit of a junk foodie style show, which isn't that bad. I mean, you need one every now and then. 2D animation on this show is a little bit like Flash animation quality, but it's solid. And I liked it for when I had a spare minute here and there, or if I just didn't want to commit to a full feature-length episode, as episodes range from being about 2 or 3 minutes long to 4 or 5 minutes long. Created by Mondo Media, it's on par with the rest of their work, and they've never really been too adventurous with their animation, but they've always been consistent. Styles do flip-flop from sketch to sketch, but they always keep to this webcomic vibe and tone. There might be an eye-catcher every now and then, but you're really in it for the dirty sketch humour. Like Shared Die's best quality come from their comedic timing and delivery, which is invaluable when you're working on a show format that has episodes that are 2 to 5 minute long shorts. The show has a very good variation of genres and themes, with Deep Space 69 standing out as one of their better sci-fi ones. So this is my junk food animation of choice for 2015. If you've got 3 minutes spare as you boil the kettle, why not check it out? So there's a few things that I thought were worth checking out from 2015. I guess I'll throw my hat in for a few other things. The Ugly. Lots of people had words to say about Peanut and Pickle, but I thought the show was fine. The collage art was okay. The humour was a bit I wasn't offended either way. Now the equally horrendously named Pig Goat Banana Cricket is fucking gross looking and just reeked of Ren and Stimpy charm from the get-go. If you're looking for fugly, in-your-face, stupid humour, I'd point you that way. Everything's got this funky texture to it that makes me think that the show's literally rotting away as I listen to its jokes unfold. So that's the Ugly Kid of the year if you're interested in poking fun at it. As for bad, oh boy, people have pointed fingers and names have been called, but I've been to the bottom of the barrel that is 2015, and I've seen it. It's an enigma of a film that I'm so overjoyed that saw the light of day. It was passed around like a village bicycle from creator to director and finally surfaced at a con. Feast your eyes on Night of the Living Dead, Darkest Dawn. Look at this, it looks like a PS2 film. And no, this is not some forgotten PS2 game. It was released in 2015, and it's great. A retelling that no one really asked for of Night of the Living Dead set in New York? So much of this film is just shrouded in mystery. I don't know if it's true, but I've seen it said that this film cost $750,000 to create, and it has big names around it as well. Tony Todd reprised his role in this film. He's the guy from the first remake of Night of the Living Dead, and it's just a shock to me that this film even got released with these people's names in it. I honestly am unsure whether or not this film was a joke or like hyper serious, and it's hard to find out from people what end they stand on. Tony Todd had an interview where he spoke about the actors being isolated to rooms without any contact from the other actors, where they filmed their faces and recorded their lines. And then the faces they filmed seem to have just been plastered onto the models of each character in this film. And yet, looking at this film, small snippets of actual talent are like prevalent in it, with certain shots and some of the art direction. I mean, but look at that ground, oh god, it's so flat, you could put level on it and it wouldn't move an inch. I could go on about Night of the Living Dead, Darkest Dawn, oh god, that title, and I could tell you more details about it, but it's my bad film you should check out 2015, so I'm not going to spend any more time on this. And a few respectful mentions. I never got to see it, but it's listed on IMDb as coming out in 2015. The Boy and the Beast. If it's half as good as the other films from Hosoda, it's bound to be just a stunning spectacle. He did films such as Wolf Children, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, Summer Wars, stuff like that. And there was a Korean science fiction animated film that I just happened to see called On the White Planet. The story depicts a dark and desperate world. With the exception of the sky, this world is without colour, except for one day where a boy with flesh-coloured skin is born. He's persecuted and exiled for it, and mistreated like a freak his whole life. This story is going to kick your ass a little bit, as it is a very just depressing tale of like hardship, but the art style on it is just so unique and the idea that you've got these sharp contrast of the few things that have colour in a world of blacks and whites. It's very alluring. It's one of those art styles that I think could inspire a lot of people. Sadly, it might end up like 2008's Kaiba, where it's probably going to be hard pressed to get copies of, and I don't see it getting a Western release. If you can get hold of it, good job, but you might have to be creative. Hentai? If you're interested in that, the new Rant series started up with Hikara o Mamamiti, the animation. It's ongoing. I think it got 2 episodes out last year, and I think another one came out this year. It's basically got a more believable Kirito in it, who's an ass and gets laid a lot more. It's good fun, and the animation's well done. If you're looking for my top picks of last year, probably go for Monkey King, Hero is Back, Star vs. the First of Evil, JoJo, Stardust, Crusade, One Punch Man, Inside Out, and Little Witch Academy, The Enchanted Parade. Thanks for sticking around, everyone. Like and share if you please, and maybe subscribe if you like some animation themed stuff. That's what I do on my channel, animation stuff. And hey, maybe down in the comments tell me stuff that you saw last year that isn't so popular but you think's worth checking out for some arbitrary reason. And if you want to check out some more of my stuff, maybe check out my speed drawings or animations. Ta-ta!